This is an emergency alert. Obviously, Bitcoin has been getting dumped on for months, with the monthly MACD signaling even months ago that cataclysmic dumpage was coming, and it did happen. And right now, the fate of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies hangs in the balance, as currently, at this very second, if Bitcoin closed the weekly, we would be having our 10th red weekly candle in a row. And with Ethereum hanging on by a thread, of which if it fails here, could send the entire altcoin market into complete and maximum dumpalicious chaos for the next 2 years. Is this all just fear and manipulation? Or in fact, is there actually something much bigger happening right now that everybody is missing? What am I talking about? It's this chart right here. And after I show you this, it will change everything about what you think you know. So sit down, wiggle your toes, and get ready for the most explosive video that you will ever see. I'm your host, Skeet Magoo, and as many of you know, I've been trading cryptocurrencies and investing for the past 42 years. And after analyzing these charts today, I have come to a huge realization, and I'll be sharing it with you in just a few moments. And if you're watching this video, you're either one of two things: a baby bull or a baby bear. And let me just tell you, one of you is about to be very, very upset. So if you get into the channel, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, turn on those ghost notifications to never miss these absolutely time-sensitive alerts. As well, guys, if you are interested in any bonuses or deals, make sure to check out all of the great bonuses below. And as well, if you're interested in earning free society simply by staking your ADA in our pool, if you're not already staked, there's literally zero reason not to. And for the next roughly 6 months, you will be one of a very limited amount of people to receive free society token here. Instructions are just kind of in the links pinned below. Without any further Magoo, let's dump on in. Ginormous. So as many of you know, Bitcoin is not in a very healthy position, but there's one gigantic thing that nobody has talked about. In fact, this will be the first time that I've ever talked about it in this video. But before we talk about that, guys, remember something we were covering months and months and months ago. Really back here at the very, very end of 2021. Where we saw this MACD kind of really start to take a downturn towards October, November, and specifically December of 2021. And this is the monthly MACD, and it did have this bearish cross. And basically what happened after that was, as you can see on this chart, the biggest dumpage of all time. And we've been straight dumping for months. The entire year of 2022 so far has been straight and utter dumpage. However, there are some promising things, some very promising things showing up on some shorter time frames. For one, on this weekly chart, we finally see this MACD get its first little glimpse of potentially reversing to the upside, with the possibility of a short-term pump relief rally more possible than ever. But again, this Bitcoin chart is not where we're going to find the very important thing that I'm going to be getting into in a second. I just have to cover this first. Again, it shows Bitcoin momentum starting to shift. Not to mention the weekly RSI is the lowest that it's been since it's actually lower than it was back in the March 2020 crash. It's the lowest it's been since the absolute very itsy bitsy bottom of the bear market of 2018 that was found back in December of 2018. An entire year after the bear market had started, we were trading around $6,000 for a very long time right here. And then ultimately we saw it break 6,000, go all the way down to 3,000. And that was the best buying opportunity for Bitcoin of like the last 6 years. For the last like 5 or 6 years, this would have been the literal legit ultimate bottom. If you bought right here, you were in profit. You've been in profit for the past few years in Bitcoin, and with altcoins as well, because altcoins were decimated. 90+% complete dumpage for so many altcoins. Some of the top altcoins we see today, in fact, and sitting on 10, 20, 30 plus X's if you had bought a couple of years ago at that ultimate bottom. And that is where the RSI right now is on the weekly. So again, how much more can Bitcoin dump in the short term? In the short term, I don't think much more. Could we still, again, there are some other signs of obviously this trend continuing for a longer time, but this is more evidence of a relief rally. And before we get into, again, the most important part of the video, Ethereum looks like absolute garbage, complete garbanzo beans, absolutely devastatingly bad. I mean, this almost couldn't look much worse. I mean, give your grandma one final kiss before she goes night-night, because this is absolutely devastating. And Again, not only is there, everyone's been talking about the possibility of a head and shoulders printing on this chart where the breakdown target is just disgusting. Again, one thing we do see though with Ethereum is very similar to Bitcoin. With the RSI, the lowest that it's been, it's so devastatingly low. It is significantly below the March 2020 crash, where for Ethereum, it was all the way up around 40. Right now, we're down at like 32. And the lowest it went, at least in recorded history that I can see on this chart, is about 27.8 or right about 27.98. So we're not far off. How much more can ETH dump? Realistically, I don't think much more. But again, we're still barely holding on to this structure. If Ethereum collapses, I think it's very likely that the entire altcoin market is not going to do very well in the very, very short term. Amazing buy opportunity long term, absolutely, I believe. But again, we're going to get back into that in a second, but as well, the SPX, currently a little bit more of a downtrend here, but we do see, if we go back to the weekly chart, we see that also the SPX has been curving up on this MACD for the past 2 weeks as well. The RSI looks as though it's completely bottomed, again, similar to the March 2020 crash, very, very low there. But guys, this is the meat and potatoes of the video. This is what I think is so important. So for the past year, the DXY has been exploding to the upside. If we go back to May of last year, really the middle of May or even the beginning, basically exactly 365 days ago, the DXY has rallied about 17% and just gone on a monstrous rally. But by doing so, we see two things. One, the MACD, it looks as though we're about to get a bearish cross right here. Look how overextended we are. The last time we were this high was back about 7 years ago. And what happened about 7 years ago? Well, we did dump a little bit. We traded sideways for a year or two. Ultimately, if we look at this on like a 5-6 year long time frame, we've been trading sideways for a pretty long time. But with that, we saw some nice dumpage. In a broader context, there was some nice dumpage there, but we see that. We see the RSI and MACD both incredibly high. We see the RSI the highest that it's been, again, since 2015, when it topped out. Okay, we saw it top out, and it did go on a little bit, a 1 or 2 year little sideways / downtrend, not setting new highs there. And if that happens, that's exactly all we need for Bitcoin to start doing well. We don't need the DXY to just crash to new lows. We don't need it to go below 89, 88, and 85 or something. We don't need that for Bitcoin to have a chance of rallying. As long as it, if it does pull back a little bit and just stops any sort of bullish momentum for 1 or 2 years, that is completely in play and would allow Bitcoin to go on a second leg or at least some sort of significant relief rally, of which right now we don't have any chance of happening unless the DXY fails here. And again, something we've been talking about with the DXY, if we go to this daily chart and we pull out the moving averages, again, this bounce is happening exactly like we talked about with the 50-day is where we're bouncing right now, getting squished now, but between the 21-day and the 50-day. This week, and pretty much just over the next week in general, is so big to see if we can reclaim 21-day. And if we don't, and if we breach the 50-day, guys, it can be a pretty quick free fall. And I think we'll see pretty big gains for Bitcoin if that were to happen. But again, this will play out, I think, over the next few weeks, as I do think the DXY is running out of steam. I do think it's topping out in the short term. And again, we see this bearish cross forming on the MACD. So it's just very big. Not to mention, if we go to a much longer term MACD, this MACD here has its first little slight shift where we saw last time we saw this go, pretty extended into the green and then start to have a slight shift bearishly again back in 2015 when we stopped rallying for a while. So there's a lot of signs on some very strong longer term macro charts, not just daily or hourly, but we're talking about weekly and monthly, very powerful charts. A lot of signs showing that the DXY is running out of steam. And that absolutely can provide some moon juice for Bitcoin and the Moon Boys. And again, I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to go to new all-time highs this year. I think, of course, anything is possible. We could see that. I don't think it's very likely, though. I don't think we are going to see Bitcoin go to new all-time highs over the next 6 months. That's a little too crazy. However, do I think we are going to see at least some sort of relief rally to this mid $40,000 range, maybe a pullback, and then back up? Exactly like we talked about in the last video with this type of flat E-wave correction. I think that is a distinct possibility. And ultimately, Bitcoin, again, actually, since I started recording this, we're now technically green. So again, we're right at the cusp. If we close where we are right now, we will have our first green weekly candle in 9 weeks or 10 weeks, which is much needed. But I think what we're going to start seeing, just like we saw in the summer, some flattening out here, and then once we completely stabilize, it's very likely mid 40,000s is like the minimum target to the upside. So you get into the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those ghost notifications, never miss these absolutely time-sensitive alerts as well. If you guys are interested in any bonuses, deals, trading, getting altcoins, make sure to check out all the fantastic bonuses below. You can even do simulated trading on Femex below, where you risk no money and just learn a basic stop loss and just how to, you know, place market and limit orders, stuff like that. But as well, if you have ADA and you want to stake and earn free society tokens for roughly 35 epochs or about 6 months, okay, you know, these can end up being very valuable, and I'm excited to earn. I'm going to be earning these. The TSC stake pool, the stake pool in the description, is one of only 7 total pools that were accepted to earn this, so it is very limited. That is in the description below. Without any further ado, it's for me.